It's a dream of most kids growing up to modify their automobiles and get a bunch more power out of them. It was a dream of mine. I used to lay awake at night just dreaming about more power. But I never really got to it. I just did bolt-ons. I did headers, intake, exhaust, stuff like that. When I doubled the horsepower of my Miata, it was one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. It ran great before I overheated the engine. But with every really good thing in life comes an almost equally bad thing. And the bad thing here is that when you decide and commit to modifying an engine that's working perfectly good and things go wrong, and things definitely will go wrong, everybody you talk to is going to turn into an automobile expert, and they're going to give you advice. And they're going to remind you of how stupid you were to have thought that you could have modified your engine in the first place. I'm not joking. You're going to talk to people who don't even know how to change the oil in their car, and they're suddenly going to be giving you internal engine advice. After everything I read online, I should have just committed to buying an $8,000 fully built Miata race engine after everything I read online. But I wasn't about to give up, and I wasn't about to press that easy button and just spend a bunch of money. I realized that one specific thing happened to my Miata engine to make it stop running. 10 different things didn't all go wrong at the same time. I either overheated my head, I overheated my valves, or I damaged my piston rings, or something else. But I decided to commit to relentlessly trying to figure out what the problem was. I was going to find the problem, fix it, and see what it took to get my engine operating again, against apparently all odds. And that's not true. It wasn't against all odds. I eventually did get my engine running again, as I'll show you in this video. And if you can relate to some of this stuff, if you have big, audacious dreams with your car, you're not crazy. You don't have to go to school for 4 years to be an engineer at heart. And don't give up your dreams. Ignore the BS. You can build yourself a beast. Enjoy the video. Here's the new head. Look how shiny this thing is. This is a remanufactured head. It's from Star Fox cylinder heads from eBay. And here is the original one. Looks a lot dirtier. I'm gonna put this in and see if I get compression. I also use these APR or ARP head studs. Here it is with the intake manifold installed. Not the upper part, just the lower part. The reroute. And then you have to install this back seal. And I installed these front seals. I had to do the VTEC solenoid next. And then I got one of these oil lines. When you take the head off, this hard oil line, I think it's called the oil tube, is connected, and I didn't realize it had this bracket, so I tried to pull the head off and I bent it pretty badly. I got a new one, but I think I'm gonna modify this. The old one, I'm gonna modify and cut this off and make a AN fitting out of it. I wanna make a compression fitting and run stainless braided lines for that line as opposed to this hard line. Every time you take your head off or your head cover, you have to basically mess with this thing, and I think it's just over time is going to wear down. Mine was bent. I had to keep crimping it with a vice grip to straighten it out, and I think I weakened it pretty much. The wall looks really banged up, and I don't want this line to fail. If this line fails, your car is screwed. And then what I could do is just tap in here and put an NPT to AN fitting here. So I go NPT to AN here, NPT to AN here, and just run a braided stainless line. I think it would be a lot cleaner. I'm about to drop the new head on. I took those ARP studs out. They're sitting right there. It's really hard to drop it. I'm using this thing, this hoist, to drop it on there. The reason I'm doing this is because it's really awkward to like hold it out over the engine bay. I don't want to throw my back out just trying to install this head. So this is simple. You just lower it down right into there and then put the bolts in. Compression test result on cylinder 1, 180. What? This car has 200,000 miles on it. That's a really good sign. I'm gonna check the rest of them and see if I have compression. This is the worst cylinder, number 4, and it is right in the middle there. So 165, maybe a little bit higher, maybe 170. Not bad. I got the head back on, put everything else back on, and it runs again. This is so awesome. Here's that new front line. I'm topping off the coolant right now. Here's the turbo. There was a little 1/8 inch MPT plug missing back there, and I had to add it. Before that, it was like spraying coolant everywhere. Just checking for leaks. I'm running pretty rich. Gotta figure that out. I replaced the barb fit silicone hoses with this custom AN6000 PSI fuel line. And then I also replaced the 2 silicone hoses that went from the coolant reroute to the turbo that Kraken supplied. On the next video that I post in the series, I'll go through all the modifications I made to the system. And look at my AFRs are pulling in. The Miata is alive again. I've been driving it and I haven't been pushing it too hard. Usually when I get stuff working, I push it to the limit and I find out the weak spots. The last time I did that, it was a really expensive chore because I cooked my head. But now this thing's running and I'm fleshing out the mid-range of the VE table. I added a bunch of silicone sections to the hoses to prevent stuff from rubbing through. I've just been going over the system and driving a little bit and then coming back to my house and checking hoses, checking fittings. I had a oil fitting that was leaking slightly, so I tightened that up. And I'm just gonna drive it easy now. I have a new clutch. The next plan is to add a pressure sensor right here, and it's gonna be a coolant pressure sensor. I wanna be able to track the pressure of the coolant system when I'm driving, so if I blow a hose in the future, I'll know right away that my system is bad. Pressure reacts a lot faster than temperature, so if you blow a hose off your coolant system, the temperature takes a while to react. It could take a couple minutes, but the pressure will be instantaneous, and you'll see that hit in your pressure, and you'll know right away that there's a problem with your system.